Well, just us then. Not sure who else is gonna make it. I was supposed to bring in the legal Lex DAO folks, but the coordination just didn't end up working out, and they said they couldn't do it this week. So just thought we'd host an open office hours, and since it's just you, Anna Maria, yeah, and you, Max, what's cooking, guys? What's happening?
Anna, feel free to share first.
Like I've been working on ground for like a month, and it's so like it's so bizarre, so weird to see like the huge difference between like our world, like our tech Web3 ReFi world, and like the realities of like people that live there. But I mean, it's a huge challenge, I guess. But it also helps a lot to actually like ground the project and like ground like the needs and the incentives, and like it's way more simple than we imagine it. Like yeah, like people here don't care about tokens or staking anything. It's a matter of like improving like livelihood or improving something with their lives, like being part of a greater economy. Like very small things like make a huge difference. So like starting is not like that complicated as like we might like imagine it. So yeah, like that's I guess like our work right now, like putting all the pieces together and like joining the and like really targeting like Web2 space, like environmental and social projects here in Colombia. I think Colombia, like we have like a big issue in like producing technology, like we consume it a lot. So like in terms of like blockchain, the use of blockchain or cryptocurrencies, we have that issue. So like like they don't know the tools, like they might have the same issues that we have, but they don't know about blockchain, they don't know about cryptocurrency. So I think like joining both worlds could be like a good way to at least like scale it a bit, because projects tend to be like very small. So yeah, that's the situation for us.
Yeah, so many possibilities to go into then. Maybe like us three want to quickly decide how we want to have the call today. If we want to like set a time kind of container, if we want to set the theme or the topic. I think that could be valuable before we go off into all of the different rabbit holes that I'm sure we could go into.
Yeah, that sounds great. Is there anything for you, Max, in particular, or?
I mean, I think it's like for you, Anna, it could be a cool opportunity to like pick John's brain and to kind of pick my brain and to use us as like a support structure. You have like a tag team now to support you if that's something that you want. Otherwise, just from a personal side, I'd love to also inquire like into how the circles are going and kind of what your experience is also in comparison to last cohort, because of course, being in your circle last time, I kind of know how it was, and I'd be curious to find out on that side. Yeah, I think those would be my two kind of intentions.
Yeah, I would resonate with that. If there's stuff that we can be helpful with, awesome. Otherwise, just curious to hear how things are going and like what would be helpful, and what you found challenging, how you're approaching funding and things like that. So I think I'm resonant with that, and I might towards the end, if we have some time, just ask you, throw some ideas around. We're thinking about how to raise funds next year and how to effectively become a DAO and decentralize and really empower more effective leadership across the board. And there's some thoughts around there, but I'd say that's like tertiary to the other things that we discussed. So yeah, don't know if there's specific things you want to jump into or jam on, Anna, but that could be a good way.
It sounds great for me. Give me a second, I'll close the window because it's like super noisy.
Cool.
How are you today, John?
I'm good, man. I've had quite a like high tempo Monday, getting a lot of stuff done, and I was a bit fuzzy brained, and so I jumped in the pool and feel a lot better now. And my fingers are slightly numb, so I'm trying. You can actually see they're like slightly not the right color. But yeah.
I used to have that like way back when I first got my driving license. I got a scooter, like a really small, like a nerd. And I remember in winter scootering to school, and it was like first lesson we had art on like, I don't know, Tuesday or Monday. And I remember like, you grab the steering wheel, and then just for like half an hour, like in the cold, you're like, nee, and then I would arrive and my hands would kind of like, I kind of like felt stuck, like the tendons had like frozen in place. And then when I was at art, I was like, this is really difficult. Like even trying to hold like a pencil, I remember like, this really hurts and I can't really like move my hand. So
funny.
like,
I can see, yeah, I see feel my pain, but
yeah.
Welcome back from the window close.
Typing.
I've never had those issues. Okay, so
Well,
what would you guys would want to start with? Like, let me know.
I think it's up to you. If anything of like anything you would like support on or you want to share.
Let me think.
Pick brains, yeah.
I think like the biggest like challenge I feel like we have right now, it's maybe a lot like around like a business model and how to like scale at least an MVP or something. We have like a few like working groups with Seth from Ecolabs, and
Cool.
Jan also participates a lot, and we have been looking at the Colectivo blue paper. We listen to the podcast and kind of like seeing how they are like they have like a huge like tokenomics like structure and like a few different tokens. We also have a call with them tomorrow in the Latam Tech Circle, Founder Circle call.
Cool. As in Collectivo's coming to that circle.
Yeah.
Cool. That's
we
awesome.
have, that circle has actually been like quite nice. We have, I mean, not all of them continue. I think like only like 6 people are still like going.
Same as us.
Yeah, it's what we expected with most circles.
Yeah, and we have Daniel from Silo, his community developer, something like that, at Silo Foundation. So the first few meetings we talked about like what we have in common as Latam projects, how to like work together, maybe like how to bring ReFi to the Latin community. We talked about like the barriers of language, of internet connectivity, because like that in Latin America is like a big issue. Then like we created like this structure, like a framework where we like put together like our values and like ways to communicate between each other and all that. And now we're starting to focus on like, okay, we have these issues in common, like how can we like create value, because each one of us is in a completely different stage, like in a completely different country, or we all have different challenges. So like one of it was how to scale, and Daniel talked about like Colectivo and how Silo has been like really big in like supporting them. Have a call with them this Tuesday with Luca, I think is his name.
Luke, yeah.
Yeah, wait, I think my Wi-Fi is
You seem okay now. There was a bit of a glitch. Oh, no, it's a little glitchy again. We can also go video or audio only if that's helpful.
Okay,
We can see and hear you perfectly.
no,
You're back.
it's okay. Changing networks. So yeah, like we're gonna talk with them. I've personally have had that issue, like how to build a business model around this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like my biggest issue right now. Like funding, it's also like a big part of it. Right now we're focusing on raising some money because we don't have the technical structure in our team.
Yeah.
So Future Quest, I've been talking a lot to Facundo. He's from Game Forest. They have a fund to give. So yeah, like I don't know how you guys see like funding like in 2023. Like, do you think it's gonna change? It's gonna
Yeah, so you are applying to Future Quest, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And have you submitted your application already?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, from what I know of your project, like it fits perfectly within the theory of change that we've shaped with them. So hopefully you'll get some funding there. I think the funding landscape, it'll be very interesting moving forward. So obviously, Sabu Fadal, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. And how are you all doing?
Yeah, we're great, man. We're just mid-flow, kind of jamming on some stuff with Anna Maria at Coco DAO, kind of talking about business model dynamics and fundraising opportunities. And yeah, you're very welcome here. And we're just kind of ad hoc sparring a little bit.
Tech circle that I was telling you guys, the LATAM tech.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
perfect.
It's also really cool because I did want to actually make that cross connection. So maybe in a moment we can see how. But anyways, John, you go ahead.
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, I was just gonna say, so like I think the funding moving forward will be interesting. Like Gitcoin's not going away, right? And I would also say I've heard some unannounced, can't just say who, but pretty big commitments towards funding through Gitcoin for a longer time period from actors like that we probably wouldn't expect. So there is money coming into the ecosystem. The delay is unfortunate, but thankfully, we've been able to come alongside and help fill the gap with like Polygon and Celo and stuff. So I think there will be grant funding for sure. I think what we're looking at is like, how can we really provide like the first check towards those startups as an investment that really gets them going, and then provide the right level of services to help get people to proof of concept. Because I think there are a lot of people who struggle to get from here's my idea to this is the idea out in the world that people can use. And I think the faster that people can do that, the better in effect, and with the least amount of time and the least amount of money, the better. So there's something that we're exploring there that we can dig into. But yeah, happy to pause and unpack any other connections. Now, Max, you probably see some threads that I don't, but just quickly on the funding streams.
Yeah, maybe as like a little piece to it. And this is not coming from like in the field experience, but rather what I know about projects growing, and especially the ReFi space, is building for the long term. And so that really shifts a little bit also how you're wanting to get funding and what kind of pitch you're using for that, what problems you're solving. Is it a short-term kind of using the hype in the space at the moment, or is it a long-term kind of building that you're doing? And that I'm not too sure, like that's not necessarily the pitch to the people who have the funding, but it's for you as a team and also as a network and a space. That's the foundation from which everything else arises.
Nice.
And that would be something I would also want to check in with you here. Like, where are you in that? How like grounded and centered is the project also in you as a person, as a someone changing the world, etc. So that could be an avenue to also explore. Yeah, Anna, where would you like to go from here? Because there's also, with Mufadal here and also my like kind of insight into the circles, I think there could be a cool conversation that you two could also have in this context. But from kind of what you heard from John, what you heard from me, where would you want to kind of continue the conversation?
I'm thinking.
How dare she consider us?
Take your time.
And Mufadal, you can also, while you're here, kind of think about what would you love to get from the space here, from the conversation here? What's something you would maybe want to share, or why are you here today as well? And then we can check in with that in a moment.
I'm curious if you guys could just give me a little bit of context about like kind of the challenge or the topic that was being discussed, and maybe there's something I could offer as well.
Anna, maybe you want to share again a little bit.
Yeah, like we were talking about challenges, like what's the state, for example, of Coconut right now? How like I'm approaching like funding. We also talked about a little about our circle, how I think like it has been like super great compared to like the others. For example, really appreciate these office hours, like they have been super great. What else? Yeah, like
Business model. You were really talking about like the
I talked
business model.
about business model, which we talked about like in last call. How to ground the ideas, the needs. It's like, for example, in my case, like I have this like big like the big difference, no? So like you have these ReFi projects creating these amazing like tokenomics and geo NFTs and etc. But when you go to like the on ground like communities and like the field work, you realize that it's like way more simple that what we're designing sometimes. So I have that like yeah, like that difficulty of like joining both words. Like for example, creating right now I'm working in creating like mapping like the incentives and like how to actually reach these people, because like they don't care about wallets, they don't have smartphones. So like it's yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Like it's such a big gap between both words. And what I've been realizing is that like the big projects that you can actually like reach right now with the tools that exist in the ReFi Web3 space are not enough. Like they are already like connected with carbon credit markets, and they are already working with Vera, etc. So it's like how to like ground these tools, how to make them actually like accessible. Like what do they need? Like they don't need tokens, they need like real like fiat like money. For example, we were talking with Giogo on how like even like for example like a great incentive is like giving a family like some vacation and taking them to for the first time to see the ocean. That's like a huge change in a family, like in a rural family. That's like life-changing. So it's like this stuff that actually like changes their lives like in a short term, are not as fancy or as like attractive for the like Web3 space, you know. So I think that there needs to be this connection, or this like making it simple. For example, when you like take into account like the baseline or or like, yeah, like accounting what you have in your rural communities. Again, like the needs are so basic that making like positive changes is like relatively like easy, but it's like, how do you account that? How do you make that like more systematic? So yeah, that's what I'm like thinking right now.
That's helpful. Yeah, I feel like I'm very similarly thinking about all these things as well, right? Like we talked about a little bit in our last in our circle. And something like I don't have any answers either. I'm also like I'm with you trying to figure it out. A way that I've began to try to think about it is, okay, can like they both exist, right? Like there's this complex Web3 thing, right? That like needs to interact on Twitter and stuff. And then there's like just the need of a farmer, like they need more money, right? And is there a way that we can like incentivize them to do actions that are regenerative, that like isn't changing the whole farm, but like can be something that is adding, right? I guess like that's the other thing that I've been thinking about is like I feel like we're maybe still like really early, right? And like maybe it's like we can't depend the whole thing of the farmer's needs and livelihood on the ReFi project. They still need to have other income, right? And they still need to keep doing what they're already doing. And is there a way that this can kind of begin to like trickle into a system? That's kind of what I've been thinking about, at least.
Yeah. And it's also like a very like cultural like change, because for example, like it's, and we also talked about this a lot in our circle, that like farmers are not like waiting for tools for like Web3 tools or like blockchain,
Totally.
or they're not like, oh my god, we need this, like, yeah, come give it to us. Like they are not like, that's not in the radar. And for example, when you have a farmer and you're trying to like convince him of like, okay, let's move to agroforestry, or let's move to regenerative agriculture, let's move to organic. When you go like to their culture and their like status, like social status, like they, for example, they feel so proud to be able to buy the chemicals, the fertilizers. Like you cannot imagine like in these little like towns, like the farmer that like goes with their bike and has like their chemicals like in the back, like tied up, and they go through the town, like it's like, oh my god, like that's a sense of like pride, like it's a sense of like yeah, like the sense of like, oh my god, I'm like improving my life. It's like way different to the view that we have here. Like they are not all like waiting for a solution so they can live fully like in the forest. It's like not like that. Like they want to produce food like the way that the culture has like been like programming like for a long time. Like they want to use like fertilizers, they want to use like chemicals, because that was like progress, that means progress. So again, like it's a cultural change, it's a mindset change. There's no information, there's absolutely no environmental education, there's not even like education at all. So yeah, it's again, like, how do you account that?
I just wanted to actually jump in really quickly. There's something really interesting here, especially as you're going into that space. And it brings up three things for me that I'd love to just share really briefly. But it has to do with, I think, like the behavior change that you're trying to seek through incentives. I won't go into the whole behavior model right now, but at a high level, an incentive is affecting the person's motivation for them to do that thing that you want them to do. So we have the farmer with their existing practices, their existing cultural paradigm, what progress means. And then you have this key change, like you said, switching to agroforestry or switching to organic. And even that in itself is comprised of lots of really small behaviors. sometimes they happen in a sequence, sometimes they're kind of random, but like it's a complex, you know, sequence of change you have to take people through. And like, yes, if you just gave the person $1 million contingent upon them, you know, putting a bag of compost on some carrots, like they do it instantly, right? Because the behavior is easy enough, the motivation's high enough, and like there isn't enough social traction for them not to do it. But I think as you look at it, there is this really interesting, the cultural context you described of driving through a town and picking up these chemicals or fertilizers, which indicate, you use the word progress, but there's also this word around like success, of like what success is deemed in that environment. And I don't know if you've seen this video, I won't take the time to find it now, of it's a like old school video by the founder of CD Baby called How to Start a Movement. And basically, you've seen this, yeah. So it's this really interesting thing where like there's this party, there's this one weird guy dancing and everyone's kind of looking at him awkwardly. And then like there's this, you know, it's like 10 minutes long, but he basically breaks it down how this one guy dancing ends up getting everybody in the area like to shift from sitting down to dancing and joining it. Like he obviously starts a movement. And I think like the ReFi orb is an interesting example of this concept where Adrian from Senkin was, you know, in Slack, it was just like, yo, where did you get that cool background profile thing? Like, I'll put it behind mine. And then, you know, you celebrate that as success. Hey, Sev, you celebrate that as successful. And suddenly, you know, other people copy and follow. And so like what I would be looking to do outside of the technology side is run small behavioral experiments of, okay, you know, we have this problem that these customers face. We believe that this thing is a solution, but we know that this kind of social dimension is a primary obstacle. What could we do? What's an intervention we could do that would make this new thing socially significant and socially successful? And my buddy David No from Behavior Delta runs these like really small short experiments, like, you know, 10 of them in a week, and like you don't do more than 4 hours of planning. It's like really simple, like don't build tech, just like basically go out and try and test these ideas from a behavioral lens and see if you can really affect you know, those people's reaction and see if you can make something successful. So anyway, there's a lot of vectors in there, but I think the one thing that I keep going back to is this idea. I'm sure you guys have seen this before, but the lean canvas. I don't know, do any of you work with business model canvases or the lean canvas or any of that, like for your current business? Okay, so Anna Marie, you've got that moved out. Okay, so you basically all got it. But there's this really interesting like super stripped back version which basically shows like this founder's bias that we all fall into, which is like, we basically go, okay, I've got a customer, sorry, it's low fidelity, he's uploaded a bad version of it. I've got a customer and there are some like early adopters in this customer segment. They have a problem and there are like some existing alternatives to that problem. And basically there's this other way to say like, okay, who's my customer? What are the early adopters? And what are the existing alternatives for those early adopters? And what problems did those create? Those existing alternatives create. So you're really framing it with what they already have. And it's a really interesting way to like step back and look at what are the really core risks with my business model. How can I identify something that is viable, something we can make money on, that I can actually build, and something that people actually want, and then run small tests with people, not building lots of product, but with people out in the wild to verify whether or not I've found an idea that fits those three together. So anyway, lots of different thoughts there, but welcome Sev and welcome Emiliano. We were just kind of jamming on stuff. I don't know if anything comes up for either of you, Mufadal or Anna Maria.
One question or thought I have, Anna, is like, is there a specific community or group of farmers that you're working with or targeting to start?
Yeah, like I'm right now in Huila, which is in the south of the country, and it has the characteristic that like all this area was very violent, like in the Civil War era, 50 years of war. So they have the same characteristics, like very small holders, not like infrastructure at all. There's a lot of coffee. Yeah, like very small like farmers in this area.
Right. Well, that's a great start that there's like a particular group, like applying the frameworks, right? That John just talked about could like be super helpful in like the behavior change thing, right?
Yeah, have you talked to Ethic Hub's customers? Like, I'd be curious, like talking to an Ethic Hub farmer who's actively being financed versus like, somebody who isn't. Like, what makes that person join Ethic Hub versus somebody not? Like, I'd be really curious to understand that insight.
Yeah, thank you guys for the insight. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I met with I think his name is like Yorick, something like that,
Yeah,
from Ethic
Jori.
Hub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alejandro.
Yeah, I have the task to like talk to them like more, but yeah, I know who they are.
Maybe as a last,
Mhm.
sorry, on you end.
You're good. I just wanted to drill in on that actual question. Like, have you talked to their customers, like the users of their platform?
No, I have not. But again, like it's what like there are different types of farmers.
Yeah, of
So
course.
like for example, Kokorao is focusing on like targeting small scale deforestation, right? Like I'm not right on food production.
Got you.
So these smallholders have production, but they also have forest, or the means to like improve their livelihood is to like decrease the forest to increase food production. But we have these very specific characteristics, which is no connectivity, no smartphones, no English. So for example, Ethic Hub makes payments through their token. So you do have those farmers that have like, yeah, like they're more modern, or they're like, but when you go to like the small scale, like deforestation, which is like the focus right now, like it's a completely different like demographic of yeah, like of consumer, producer, etc. And like I guess what makes it like so challenging for us is like when you go to like a funding scenario, like it's kind of like they are probably always expecting for you to be developing like some system like Ethic Hub, some tokenomics like Ethic Hub, or some protocol or something. But we do need that time to like test those behaviors and test like what is actually needed based on like that specific communities.
So if I see you've got your hand up, is it directly to it? Otherwise, I just interject one little piece to it.
Yeah, no, it's to towards Anna Maria, or on this topic. It's that there's this additional challenge in that like the regenerators, these land stewards and farmers are not necessarily customers; they're stakeholders, and so the sort of ideating on business models. Where to place the land stewards within a business model is somewhat of a struggle for I think a lot of projects, because they're not necessarily the customers, and we don't want to be extractive of those who are actually doing the regenerative work. We want to support and help incentivize that work. So it's almost they're the opposite. Like we want to pay them.
Yeah, totally. And like they are doing like such like amazing work. And what I was telling you guys before, like they are not like waiting for tools to be available so they can like pay for them and use them. Like it's completely opposite.
Yeah, and maybe as just a reflection on a little bit of a higher level, also for the kind of conversation we're having in this space, is you can go really deep into the problem space and you can identify really deeply and very cleanly what the problems are. And at some point, the questions need to be orientated from what you want to how you can get there. So even for this conversation, and I kind of like pointing to this a little bit for you also to notice, in this context, but also generally, if you're very clear with what you're trying to achieve, then the conversation can be in service of you getting that. rather than talking just about all the different problems. And there'll be more and more problems, and the one problem will show more problems, and then we're suddenly like all the way over there. But actually, maybe incentive structures for farmers isn't the thing that you need to solve right now. And so it gets to be an interesting conversation, but especially for like these kind of containers, or when you're in conversation with your team, to make it really high leverage. And that necessitates you knowing what you want and then making a very clear request, and being really selfish. And it's a funny term to kind of use in this context, but be selfish, get the answer you need. And just, if they don't have the context that you want to share, cool, you can inform them. So just skip all like the context, because cool, if they don't get it, you can explain it. If they get it, awesome, you can move really fast into the solution that you might want.
Yeah, thank you, Max.
Can I just offer one quick thought before we segue out of this conversation? Because I think you're right, Max, in that representation, but also like I'm sure you didn't join office hours expecting to have this conversation. I basically would try and find farmers, just think about this out loud, find farmers that want to switch to regenerative practices. They have the motivation already. And if you can simply provide them the thing that makes it easier for them to do that, then you'll be successful. But if you're trying to target people that don't actually want to switch to regenerative practices, actually what they want to do is drive to the market and, you know, be seen successful, then that's gonna be fucking hard to get those people not only to do something that they don't want to do, but also to like think of the world in a different way. So I think like the choosing who your early stakeholders are, even if they're not customers, is absolutely vital. You've got to get the people who already want to do the thing that you're aligned with, and you should introduce something, an incentive or some sort of tech that makes it easier. And if the right messaging is there, they're going to do it because they already want to do it. So I think that's, you know, a final piece there. But yeah, really interesting stuff. And I'm like so grateful you're on the ground out there working through these problems. Like this is my personal thesis of what will change the world. So yeah, kudos to you.
Anna
Yeah.
Maria and I have been working a lot. Sorry, go ahead, Anna Maria.
No, just saying thank you. Go ahead, Seth.
I was just saying we've been working together on collaborating on methodology development with some of the regen projects here in Colombia and making slow but good progress. I just wanted to say, Anna Maria, I submitted the concept note this morning to Regen Network. So I finally got that done.
Hey,
Congrats.
cool.
Yeah, and maybe I really love where you're going with this, John, because I think this applies to like a lot of projects. I would actually say every business, this kind of applies, where in the old way that we used to do marketing, you're convincing, right? You're manipulating, you're using the tools so that people who don't actually want it will actually do want it, but they actually don't want it.
Yeah, you really want this Coca-Cola right now.
And you only have 2 more hours to get this. I mean, 10 minutes. Actually, you have 5 minutes. And if you buy 2, then...
So there's this hot babe that comes with it.
Ooh, ice cold Coca-Cola. So that's like the old way, and it still works, right? But I think the ReFi space is choosing not to do that. And the new way is authenticity and honesty. It's exactly what kind of John was pointing to. It's like, it's not convincing, it's providing what someone wants. And just to like give a close example from my business as a coach, there's a lot of people who don't understand coaching, who get convinced by weird people on Instagram with Lamborghinis who say they know how to live your life, and then they sell their advice for way too much money. We don't like that. No one likes it. TSF. But there are those people who recognize the power of, for example, modality like coaching. And those are the people that you can provide really high value to. And at that point, me as a coach, I don't fight against the people who don't like coaching, because I don't like that kind of coaching either. And so in the same way, it's like you're allowing people to recognize the value that they also want to see. A bit of a different process, like also sharing what becomes possible with an alternative economy, and then providing like real life, like with this, you can actually earn 1,000 US more per ton of etc. That's a very clear example where like, that's something I want. And oh, you use Web3? Okay, I don't really give a shit about that, but oh, I can make more money with this and blah, 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 blah. So it's really like the shift that this space is also leaning into. And it's shifting a system, right? Like this isn't just also in the context of ReFi, but generally marketing is shifting to hyper-personalized, individual and authentic connecting. Hence why influencers, creators are so big and social media is so big, because people want authenticity. They don't want brands that are selling them stuff they don't want. They want to connect with people. So that's really what's happening here. And I think what John was speaking into, like, speak to a farmer, go find the ones who are like, holy shit, I want to do farming differently. And look, there's this person who's sharing everything that's around it, blah, blah, blah. And there's a very easy connection there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think like what makes it like, I guess, a little bit harder is that you feel this sense of urgency, like in these like environmental projects. Because it's like, oh my God, we have been losing this many hectares of forest in small scale daily. So it's like, oh my God, I have to do something. But when you go to, okay, I have to make a sustainable business out of this, then you realize this, like you actually have to start from people who actually like have that spark of like curiosity and then like move forward. But yeah, I think that sense of like urgency and like, oh my God, we need this is like kind of like, yeah, but I guess that's something I guess very personal, I guess. I don't know.
I feel it too.
Yeah, it's super common. And
too.
the issue isn't urgency, it's what you do with urgency. It's like if urgency creates fear and panic, then your actions are going to be all over the place. If the action from urgency is, let's be a little bit romantic, compassion and understanding, it's like, oh, we need to do something. Okay, how do we go about this? Yeah. And super, I mean,
Awesome.
like, Anna-Marie, welcome. You care. Like, congratulations. There's another person who cares and gives a shit about the world, and you have all right to be urgent and to be like, you know, fucked up about the whole place. So,
and you're solving a specific problem that like not many people know about and
exactly.
like, have the geographical context to. So like it's huge. Maybe we pause here just 45 minutes in, just open it up to anybody else in the group. Emiliano, I saw you guys just posted an update around Raise with the white paper. Alejandro, Mufadal, I know you've just joined, but yeah, office hours, open chat. We've just gone deep on Anna Maria because she sparked a lot of really cool ideas, and it was just her at the beginning. So
Nice. Cheers, Ana María. Con mucho gusto, también ahí colaboramos.
Gracias.
Further ahead. On our side, yeah, thanks, John. I mean, we did like start reactivating a bit the community angle. Yeah, I mentioned, I think Friday with Max, we need a bit more of alignment there between the core team and like us handling social, etc. But yeah, what I wanted to raise here, no pun intended, are a couple of questions, specifically on some of our goals we have by closing the year and early next. So we are about to launch a new set of NFTs, and we want to link them to a new design of farms we're building. So we're building smaller farms, like farm walls, that different communities can onboard, even like, for example, co-working spaces, etc. And I would like, and what we're aiming to validate is the need or the want for region communities, so to speak, specifically in the ReFi space. I don't know, just one that comes to mind is West DAO, to have this kind of vertical farms in their communities. I was also speaking with Earth-Based Soul, Guido, the other day, and he'd be keen to have that in their nomad solar punks. And the question here is, what do you think the best way to reach these communities is? So the way I see it, and this just came to my mind on the weekend, is okay, we can launch a set of NFTs to do a kind of a validation / pre-sale of the farm walls at a very low cost or very accessible, just to validate that people want this, right? Not to go out and build something organizations don't want. And yeah, within this space specifically, that know the problems in traditional agriculture, that would like to free up land for regeneration while having food production being done efficiently, and that actually know what, for example, NFTs are or how they can work in terms of this fractional ownership, etc. So yeah, the question is, what do you think of the strategy as a whole, and how do you think we could reach these specific communities, which I believe there's a couple of maps of the ReFi space out there, but not sure if you guys think of any other way to reach people or decision makers more directly.
Yeah, so just quickly, I mean, have you spoken to the IAM folks in Lisbon?
Yes, but I will reach out back again. I met what is it, Clement or Benjamin?
Yeah, Kamal's the CFO. So just because you're in Lisbon, that's an easy one. So they do food processing. So they make lunch every single day, 5 days a week. And they
Yes.
also have a space in Mexico, and they're also looking to expand to like 10 other locations. So I think landing a small but value aligned, like they buy organic, they cook vegan, I think is key. Like I'm sure you've pitched this to WeWork, right?
Not at that level yet, but we'll
Why not?
Yeah, haven't reached them yet. Yeah, we can. I mean, the product is not fully there yet, but definitely we can pitch and then develop the product accordingly.
I may have misunderstood. Like, you're just trying to riff on basically like the approach first, as opposed to like going to market. Is that right?
Yeah. I think
Okay.
like first
Sorry.
with a niche,
My
which
bad.
I believe can be ReFi or region communities, and then develop the product to go to market fully, because
Got you.
that could be ready
Sorry.
for like Q2 next year.
I was jumping the gun a little bit. I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts, but like my first gut is to say, where are people working with aligned values that you can sell these walls into? Like I like the idea of it being a smaller thing that could fit inside an existing structure. I think that's really cool. And like the reason I mentioned WeWork is just because Phil Fogo is an advisor of ours, and Adam Neumann was the founder of WeWork, and like if you can get a big deal like that and suddenly get a bunch of people growing food, I don't know if that's helpful. I don't know if anyone else's thoughts around the approach, but yeah.
Well, where are you getting stuck in at the moment?
Stuck in, I would say, I mean, there's no any clear bottleneck yet. I would say funding is the main one, but we keep moving forward. I mean, we just secured a 50K commitment. We have another grant on near, thanks man, on the near side, other 50K.
What's your next like project milestone? Or
yeah, the next project milestone is to launch at least 3 new farms next year, right? So this is part of that
And are
plan.
you on track going there?
I'm sorry?
Are you on track to hit that milestone?
I would say yes. We have next Friday we're about to secure a prison project, a project in a prison with a version 2 of the vertical farm, which is cool on the social side of things. Yeah, that isn't yet like this tokenized farm with fractional ownership, right? So that's what I want to develop, and that I would say leads to my second question. Not to make it too long, but yeah, how do you think we can go multi-chain in an easier route? And the way I want that to be the case is just not to take constraints into consideration when building the smart contract architecture and the token engineering, just like so that we know that the token that we design on the smart contracts that we design can be applied or can be like switched or merged to another blockchain, for example. Yeah.
What's the specific like request you would have for this group of people to support you with?
Yeah, thoughts on that, like on going multi-chain specifically, maybe, yeah, from people. I'm not sure if that working with a couple of chains already. We're working with Near at the moment and have been speaking with Climate Collective.
Hang on.
Yeah.
So I know this might be like a different kind of conversation than you might be used to, but it's especially for the time that we have, which is 5 minutes, just like a request of, I want to know something about multi-chains and what do you think? We would need like so much context to be able to understand your particular issue. It's really helpful if you give us like the specific part that you're getting stuck on. Like, I'm using single chain, this is the issue I'm facing. Would multi-chain help me with that? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Sure.
So what are you coming up against with single chain, and why are you thinking about multi-chain?
About, I would say, the reach and community, right? So we would like to reach more people, and I think one of the ways to do it is to start spreading the chain, right? And reaching more communities. So
it's actually a community and outreach kind of topic that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That's I didn't understand that earlier. That's interesting. I wouldn't like so you know, Toucan, we developed a multi-chain strategy. We went Polygon, then to Celo, and then there were conversations with a few others. But given what you said around like 3 farms, and thank you, Max, for pressing on those goals like over the next year, you're not really talking about the kind of scale that would require that level of multi-chain exposure yet. If you're talking about like really concentrating across many geographies, and you've got tens of thousands of farms, and you're like saturated in near, and like all the near events have these farms, like, okay, move on. But it's the biz dev work, the like, yeah, it's a lot of work to do launches on chains well and to really penetrate there. So I would, if I were you, I would really try and go hard on the near one if you are committed to near. Like, I also have questions when I met the Near Foundation people. Like, I wasn't sure how strongly they're going to back the growth of regenerative projects on their platform. So there's another thing to, which is to say, like, is near the right home for you guys? Maybe it is, and like you vetted that, in which case great. Then just use that as the tech to then scale it out. Like, I minted the NFT for Raise that you guys gave me on Near, and it was like so easy. It was so quick. It was so fast. I was amazed at how fast and seamless the tech was. So I think for me, it's just about, getting that proposition right, getting the cost basis right, so that somebody can buy into one of those walls. Like, I like the idea you're breaking down the box, and because a box, like, what are you gonna do with a big shipping container? Like, if you can turn that into just a wall, and that proposition's much less as a capex, like, I think that's a really cool idea. And I would love to see that at any co-working space I was a part of, and like, as we start to look at what ReFi DAO grows into, and we look at membership, we look at making commitments to local communities, like, it'd be super awesome to see how we can get whatever the urban ones are, connected with urban vertical farms, because like that's a great concept. So just a few thoughts here, but I know we've got a few minutes left. Anyone else want to jump in? Alejandro or Fadal?
No, that's great. Thank you, guys. Thanks, John.
I have never seen your project before, and like, I'm looking at the website right now, and I really liked it. Do you like, are you selling those like farms? Like, for example, how many do you have right now?
Right now we have one concept farm in Lisbon. We launched it in July, and we are developing let's say the sellable version, which is more advanced and also like includes software, etc. And then, as previously saying, we're breaking it down into smaller versions just to be able to reach more people and do some market penetration.
Yeah, I have a background in agriculture. I produce avocado. I've been producing many years. So like, yeah, I would love to have a conversation with you, I guess, like in a different setting, because I don't want to bore you guys.
Sure, I'll reach out. Thanks, Anna.
What's the capex now? It's 50K, right, for the current?
Yeah, for the larger one it is. Yeah, I mean, for the container one.
Okay, and what's the wall one? Like the smaller one that you're thinking?
Around 1,200.
What?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's smaller, right? Like 32 plants a month, a bit small and chic, but
So you're telling me for one
nothing.
ETH,
Yeah,
I can, like, you can set me up with the vertical farm?
yeah, theoretically, yes. Yeah. It's cool, no? We want to get it everywhere.
All right, bro. That sounds like a cool proposition.
Thanks.
Alejandro, Mufadal, anything come up for you guys?
I don't have anything to add. I don't really know anything about tokenomics and stuff or protocols. So I'm just listening. But yeah, I would love to speak with you also, Emiliano. I think we were in the call in the previous like in the week, and you mentioned about the idea of like wanting to also have like farms that aren't in cities that are connected with the urban farms that you're doing, which I think is a really interesting way to like, yeah, to push your impact even further, right?
Definitely. Yeah, at
So
least for the larger scale ones,
so
for
I'm
sure.
super open to talking about that.
Thanks. Thank you, Mufada. Yes, let's do it. Cheers.
I'm also happy to intro you to the IM folks if and when you're ready. I mean, at $1,200, if it looks good and they don't have to worry about it and you're getting 32 plants a month, this is like a no-brainer for people who are producing food and hosting people. So I think like it sounds like you've landed on a good proposition. And if I can be helpful in any way for making contacts, like please let me know. I'd really love to support you guys.
Thanks, brother. Yes, we'll reach out. Thank you. Thanks all.
Amazing. Super fun. Well, I know we're at the end of our hour here, Max. I don't know about you, but I'm happy to stay and jam if anyone else has other stuff they want to workshop or go through for another 15 minutes or so. But likewise, if we're good here, we're good.
I have a few more minutes too, but whatever you guys prefer.
Alejandro, do you want to go through your pitch real quick and show us what you've been up to, or?
Not really. It's not ready yet, but
All right, bro.
in a few
Soon.
days. It's a mess right now, but I'm putting it together.
It sounds like the perfect time to get some feedback.
No. Come
All right,
on.
all right, all right, all right, all
Needs to
right.
be perfect before chat.
Nice. Okay.
It's a personal disaster right now.
Like Rez says, beautiful chaos or delightful chaos or something. Nice. Well, should we close out with just a quick round of gratitude and like one word or one sentence of what y'all are feeling grateful for to wrap up, Max? What do you think?
Love that. Do you want to kick us off, John? Alejandro, go ahead.
Alejandro, you got it, brother.
My words this week is onboarding. I plan to onboard many people into the Coconut Vision this month. So that's my word.
Awesome. Grateful for the things which haven't happened, but you know will happen because you're gonna crush it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm grateful for seasons. Those that prune, those that bear fruit. I had an intensely painful, challenging, difficult entrepreneurial season before Toucan. And I didn't die. The startup didn't die, but it sure felt like death. So it's grateful to be in a space that feels more fruitful and more easy and more life-giving. And yeah, it's great to be with you all. So I'm feeling grateful. How about you, Emiliano? What are you feeling grateful for as we close out?
I'm grateful for beauty, like beauty all around the world, the people, character of everyone, and especially of nature. But yeah, just grateful of the beauty that surrounds us.
Anna Maria?
I mean, I'm grateful for you guys. Thank you for listening, for giving insights. I love what Max said about like urgency and like fear, urgency. Like I think that you can very easily go like in that hole. So yeah, thank you for supporting us so much.
Thank you. Max Rowe, you were mentioned. What are you feeling grateful for, brother?
I think this like mutual platforming in the sense of like, or staging maybe like this, we give each other a stage to share our insights and experience and knowledge. And because it really is like giving means someone's providing that stage for you to share on. And I'm grateful for that to be in like this call, in kind of what you're providing in ReFi DAO, John, what the Founder Circles has provided for me, and then the moments where I like provide that platform for others, something I really enjoy.
It is a gift, man. Thank you. You do a great job at holding those spaces. And Mufadal, anything you're feeling grateful for to close this out, sir?
Yeah, I'm feeling really grateful for purpose and for for feeling purpose, like to have purpose and to live life purposefully.
Amen. Well said. Let's leave it that. The purpose. Thanks for being here, guys. This is why I'm here personally.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, super awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks to you.
Enjoy the week. Let's crush it.
Ciao, ciao.
Peace, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Love
See
it.
ya.